What is up, guys? Welcome to a new video. So this season the game has gotten a lot quicker actually, and people kind of forgotten about a few amazing late game champions, so I thought it would be a good time to go over my personal top 10 late game carry champs. Let me know if you agree with mine or think I missed someone, and also whether you want to see a version of this for early or maybe mid game champions as well. So because this is a video about champions that carry late game, supports don't really fit into that as much, right? The closest you can probably get is Sona with the ultimate. The passive part at least is designed to excel late game by reducing your aura cooldowns more than anything else. It's kind of just an honorable mention so the one support main who watches this video doesn't rage at me. Getting into our number 10 though properly is going to be JINX to start with. You have a lot of natural ramping with the game, right? Good scaling and a lot of extra free damage packed into his passive and his ultimate. Every champion can only buy 6 items in the game, remember, and one of those is probably going to be boots. So we're looking at ones who have the best kit at using 6 items basically. As JINX, you can split push your team fight. You only need a few damage items and you get tanky afterwards. You do start off weaker. You do need items and ranks to be able to do anything, which is true for like most late game champions. There isn't much counterplay either, to be honest. You jump, you burst late game before they can do anything. Your dodge with your E is arguably more valuable later. You dodge more damage, right, over the same period of time. It's easily over like 1,000 damage from an AD carry who's trying to auto attack you. The unique objectives as well, you have good control late game, being able to rush things down, but overall your passive and your ultimate synergy just make you deadly anyway. Items on top are really just a bonus. JINX is number 10 though because he's still weak to crowd control and he can kite around a lot as well. So while he is really good late game, he doesn't necessarily carry the hardest late game. Yasuo is number 9, and one of the things you're going to hear a lot is crit is arguably the best late game statistic, like out of anything you could buy. AD, AP, crit is probably going to be the best. Yasuo uses it insanely well. Obviously his whole kit revolves around it, to be honest, but kit wise you have your win wall, which is almost 4 seconds of just completely negating an enemy AD carry or blocking a big skill shot. You can counter so many champions if you play this correctly, and it can be really good late game because these fights are going to mean more. You're basically just a melee version of an AD carry, let's be honest. You can team fight, you can push, you basically have 7 items because you get free arm pen. It's a little bit weird, but with your ultimate you don't need to build a last whisper or something, so it means he can build an extra offense item. Like an AD carry has to build a last whisper, Yasuo doesn't. You have your E to outplay, your ultimate, your wall, your shield, and also you're mainly auto attack damage, right? Or at least late game you are anyway, and kind of with your Q. In general, it's going to be auto attacks mean more than abilities at late game for a champion who uses crit. Abilities don't really crit, right? It's just auto attacks, so it's really simple. You just want to be auto attacking, so you are auto crit based and you're always going to be a powerhouse late game because of that. You can do whatever your team needs you to do, you win in different ways, but you hard carry later, and he's only number 9 though because he does need items to do this. If you have no knockup, it's much harder. Your kit isn't really naturally late game focused, it's just how crit and autos work that makes him that way. So we're going to move from one crit based champion to another. This time it's not just crit, but it's the AoE damage that JINX brings to the table. Your passive is quite underrated in one way because it's not just move speed actually, it's attack speed as well. The move speed lets you kite and run away from danger, which is really good, but the attack speed lets you kill stuff, and that's really important. You have your 3 rockets, right? With runins you deal bonus 10% AD, which is better later with more AD, and your crits are going to be AoE. Your minigun gives you attack speed, chompers to peel a bit, and your ultimate from range, but basically you just right click and that's what you're really good at doing. It sounds really weird, but your rockets are high range. It's 700 range actually, rank 5, which is crazy. You stay safe to do your damage, but you have AoE damage with that. Then minigun to shred tanks nearby with extra attack speed. The attack speed is 70% by the way, level 18. If we're going on the idea in general that crit is the best late game stat, then JINX uses crit more than most with the AoE crits. You also have the minigun bonus attack speed as well, which means in theory you attack more so you have more chance to crit. She's not higher though because, to be honest, AD carries are supposed to be late game anyway, and her kit is good late but not as good as some others. Cassiopeia though is kind of obvious from what I said earlier because every champion only has 6 item slots, right? 1 boots but not Cassiopeia. She doesn't need boots. She's basically a major version of an AD carry. So in general though, abilities aren't as good late game because they have high cooldowns, and auto attacks are just going to be doing more, but not really with her E that you just spam. You have sustain, you have damage, you get kind of tanky, you decent scales though, and you get full 6 damage items. Remember, your ultimate and your W offers some kind of utility, but to be honest it's mainly just how much damage you have. The 6 full damage items you're going to build all pack into your E, you spam that over and over, and that's why she's so good late game. Also stat wise, like win rate wise, she's one of the biggest differences between early and late game. She sucks early, really good late. She really needs those items to buff her E. She doesn't get anything free in her kit really, like any free stats or anything except another slot, to be honest. It's just pure DPS. So overall she's like an AD, right? But she uses her E to replace autos, basically more items than other mages and more chance to use them with a lower cooldown ability. She's not higher though because she only does damage really, and not as much as other people. Like your kit doesn't really scream late game apart from your passive in your E. Now Twitch's kit though is much more late game focused, much more synergy with items and together, which is why he's actually slightly higher. You are a crit champ anyway, so good late game, but there's so much extra free damage. You can crit multiple people with your ultimate, ultimate, your R is 40 AD and 300 range bonus. That's 850 range now late game, which is higher than pretty much everyone else. You can hit the enemy AD and they can't hit you back. Your Q is 50% attack speed for 5 seconds. You get a reset on assist, so you can use that multiple times in a fight. Your passive is true damage, which is 180 late game, which is pretty crazy. And you apply that to everyone with your runes, remember. He's always been the OG late game champion, honestly. Now he's just stronger in early in season 7, so it doesn't seem like it as much, but still, win rate rise is highest after 30 minutes and goes up as the game goes longer. Your ultimate range plus attack speed, you hit multiple people with crits, poison, runes, making that even worse. That is the biggest thing here. The synergy with everything makes him so good late game. It's not just building crit items and auto attacking, it's everything else that makes those crits even better. We already have a good auto based crit champion, then loads of free extras that use your items. I really wanted to put him higher actually on this list. He's the first though of the elite late game champions, I think. So everyone after this is actually really good. So Nasus, I would have got flamed if I didn't put him here, honestly. There's no real surprise. Everyone knows like you get 1,000 stacks, you win the game pretty much, but that's actually not why he's here. It's hard to say Nasus isn't late game when he gets free stacking damage in his kit, right? But the thing that we haven't mentioned so far is there's no pressure. If you can sit back and think it doesn't matter if I die, it doesn't matter if I don't kill them, then you know it's a late game champion, and Nasus is clearly like that when we play to survive the lane phase and not dominate it. The thing is, you have your passive, which is 20% bonus life still just for free. More stacks means more healing actually because you do more damage, and it's actually disgusting late game. Your W slows attack speed and move speed on a short cooldown, so it kind of makes the enemy AD pretty useless actually. They have to blow their QSS cooldown and then you just use it again afterwards. Your E reduces armor, your ultimate is free health and bonus armor and magic resist. So basically there is just so much free stuff packed into his kit. You naturally have damage with your stacking, you have all these free stats, you have all this utility as well in addition to items. So actually you don't need items to be useful. He's not higher because he can't just hard carry a game in my opinion. He needs a lot of time, but there are so many free stats which puts him this high on the list. So Gangplank is a lot like Nasus, to be honest. There's no pressure. You sit back, you farm, you wait for items, and you carry it, right? The difference is you use the items really well. It's not so much about free stats. Actually, well, you have free true damage on your auto attacks, free gold stacking, free crowd control removal, and a global ultimate that also does some true damage. So that's pretty good actually for free stuff. You do use crit, which is a late game stat, but with his Q and his barrel, so you crit from huge range. Your Q, by the way, is 100% AD scaling as well. It can crit, it applies on hit effects like Sheen, it uses all the AD you build. You can hit multiple people with your barrels. It's actually a pretty ridiculous spell. GP can legit one-shot people later. He uses items better than most because of what we just said, and that is why he's so high in this video. Even his ultimate base damage does over 1,000 damage base just on its own with no scanes or anything late game. It also does true damage in the middle of it. So overall, he uses crit, but in a different way to an AD carry. It's like an AD carry, but to multiple people. He is amazing late game anyway on his own. He does so much damage, but he doesn't just kill that one person, he can kill everybody. The only reason he's not higher on this video is because the others I think are even better, but he is insanely good at late game now. So as with all of these top 10 videos, quickly pause it here and comment down below what you think my top 3 are going to be and see if you're right afterwards. But even if not, it lets me see who you think are the best late game. So it lets me know if we're on the same page or not. So if you haven't paused it already, make sure you go and do that because we're going into our third spot, which is going to be VEIGAR. Basically, if Nasus and GP had a baby, which is kind of gross actually, now I've said it out loud. He gets free AP, which is buffed even more by items, and then all of his abilities have insane ratios. The difference between him and Nasus is more that his stacking directly ties into his entire kit. Your ultimate deals 325 base damage, by the way, and 75% of your AP, which is pretty ridiculous. It also deals 1.5% more damage for every 1% missing health. His Q is 60% ratio, his W is 100% plus a 2.5 second stun duration on his E, which is nuts. He's able to one-shot people just by pressing R. He'll keep doing more and more damage in the game, and that scaling can even go into AoE stuff like his low cooldown Q and his W. You are just like a stacking machine that gets more and more AP. It makes items worth more, like percentage penetration or death cap bonus percentage AP is worth more with more AP. You always stand a chance to carry and kill everything in the game, plus that stun lets him do it. 2.5 seconds is ridiculous, and that is AoE if he puts it in the middle of a team fight. So this one you're probably not expecting, but Xin Zhao actually fits this video more than most. He's crap early game and insane late game. He's basically like an AD carry late game actually, but who doesn't have to build a full damage, who can heal, and who also gets tanky. He is honestly one of the best late game champs and is really underrated because he sucks so hard early and he's just not very popular. We don't see him very much. His passive reduces armor, his Q gives a bonus 20% AD per hit for 3 autos, and it's also an auto reset. The auto reset is so big when we're building damage because you basically get a free auto worth of damage by auto then instantly using your Q instead of just Q on its own. Your W every 3rd hit is a guaranteed crit plus heals you. The heal scales with 20% AD, by the way, of course it does, and it gives you 60% attack speed when you activate it. Your E slows, your ultimate gives you free armor and magic resist for people you hit, also does 100% bonus AD and 15% of their current health. As you can see, his kit is absolutely overloaded with damage and extra stuff. That is why he just builds attack speed, extra damage on autos, and then attacks super fast with crits and heals. His kit is designed really for late game and synergy with attack speed and items. It makes them way more valuable and he uses them better than most champions do. He is really bad early game and he gets a bad rep because of that, but actually late game he's insane. He kills everyone, but he doesn't die because of his tanky stats and his healing. So finally, number one is going to be Kale. Shakira is going to be so happy with me for this one, but she just right clicks and she wins the game. She obliterates anyone and everyone, tank or squishy. It doesn't matter if she gets her items. Your synergy with items is just ridiculous. You can't be beaten late game really. If the passive, which reduces armor and magic resist, your Q slows with dual ratios, by the way, so 100% AD, 60% AP. You have a big heal, your range with bonus damage. Again, by the way, that scales with AD and AP. Not forgetting her ultimate that makes her immune to everything for 3 seconds. It's really the items that make her late game ridiculous though. Like stacking attack speed and on-hit damage or any extra damage on your autos just means she shreds people. She bursts people and has crazy sustained damage. She kind of ticks every single box just by building attack speed items because of the way her kit works. She can do all of that with just right clicking while nobody can do anything to her. 3 seconds is a long time in team fight. It's more than enough of time for her to right click and pop off, killing everybody. She really is just a mage AD carry, basically magic damage but kills people with auto attack. She has no pressure playstyle, no need to get fed early. She just needs to get some gold, get her items, and she will 100% carry. So I know there's going to be a lot of comments about 3 specifically, probably. The first one is going to be Vayne. So she's really, really good, but I'm not sure she beats out these others right now with how the game is. It's hard because her W is made for late game, right? It's percentage health damage. It seems dumb not to put her in a late game video. Her range though is the issue more than anything. She could easily be put in here instead of someone else, but I think JINX is just better designed for late game, using crit better with higher range. Rise is a lot like Vayne actually as well. He's very good, but I'm just not sure he edges out any others on here at the moment after this rework. He is still really good late game and stuff, but he's just good mid game as well. Like, it doesn't really fit that traditional weak early, good late game kind of deal anymore. Finally, Azir, I just don't know where to put him in a video like this because he's probably getting reworked soon, and Riot seem to want to keep him down for now anyway. Nobody's playing him. It seems pointless to put a dead champion in this kind of video, but he is insanely good late, like especially kind of like Kale really, but in theory he can do that job from further away with his soldiers. So anyway, let's see how many of you got my top 3 right. Thank you for watching until the end, but for now, let's go to the robots.